many different faces and it could have many different specific initiatives tagged to it. But I think personal KM is one of the things that's going to make the difference between success and failure in knowledge management. It's looking at a person who's sitting at their desk. In fact, let me try to give you a visual representation of what personal KM is. Enterprise KM is some big thing going on in the organization. Whether or not KM is going on in your organization, you have a responsibility at your desk to do the best possible job. You are motivated to do that personally. That's job satisfaction. That's the reward of doing a good job. But how much does the company focus on you doing a better and better job? Some companies do a lot on that. Some don't do very much. That's, I think, what personal KM is all about. In other words, at my desk, if I can substantially improve my own personal performance in the context of the knowledge age, I think we have a key to make KM successful. How do we bring the tools, techniques, and practices to the individual at their desk, regardless of whether there's a portal? I know if there's a portal, things would be easier. But let's assume we don't have a portal, or some huge communities of practice that are going on in our organization. Let's just assume we want to deal with the person right at their desk and make their job more productive, more rewarding for them personally, more satisfying, work-life balance, all of those very positive things. So I think that's what personal KM is all about. Tonight, all I can do is take a poke at it. I think this warrants, in terms of training kinds of courses, it warrants 2 or 3 days easily of a training course. So poking at it for 45 minutes and an introduction of 15 doesn't do justice to it at all. But I'm hoping that in the few minutes we have tonight, you can get a sense that personal KM has got to be part of your KM strategy. Maybe even a critically important part of your KM strategy. I brought a few toys along with me tonight. And you'll wonder, what the devil are these two things all about? But they have a purpose. And with my introduction, I've kind of validated or invalidated some of my slides I was going to show here, but I'll just go ahead and give you some sense of what I meant to say, but I got off track. What describes your typical day? I think these pictures are pretty representative of the typical worker in most of our environments. Certainly I know around the Washington, D.C. area with the stress and strains and everything else that goes on. This one takes a little longer to flag itself out, but he's swamped with work, obviously. How about, I can't find the stuff I know I have and need. I can't connect, get in touch with someone fast when I need them. I think we can all relate to those problems and more. And I think the solution to all those problems is something that's very personal, that you could probably do at your own desk. I don't have time tonight to get into all of them, but I'll just poke at a few of them and say, I did all that work. This one right here. I did all that work and now it's not needed. I wonder if there's something wrong with the alignment of what you're working on versus what your department's working on versus what your business unit is working on. That might address alignment. I don't know how to do that task. That might address getting additional training, better qualifying yourself for whatever it is that you are doing. This is a perennial problem, always swamped with work. There's techniques that can help you increase the efficiency of your workload. We might get a chance to talk about 1 or 2 of those. I can't find the stuff I know I have and need. How many people have just taken their own PC and gone back through and taken a look at their directory and said, exactly. You hear that response? Like, yeah, I've been wanting to do it for 10 years, and the directory keeps getting bigger and bigger and less relevant to what I'm doing today, and I've got files stored so far. You know, how many of us waste more than 5 or 10 minutes every day searching for something we know we have in our directory and we just can't seem to find it? No one wants to admit to that? I'll admit to it. The only way I'm going to clean it up is I bought a new computer and I'm going to start from scratch. That's a technique. And with the low cost of computers today, it's almost better to do that than to get in there and, you know, because you're going to keep putting it off, and you put it off and put it off, and every day you're wasting 5 or 10 minutes, and at the end of another year, multiply, what, how many work days are in the year? 200 or so. Multiply that times 10 minutes, and you could have bought a computer for that amount of money, or you certainly could have reorganized it, but we don't. And the inevitable result is you got to do all these things yourself, and the company may or may not be helping you, but let's not depend on the company. Let's get at some of these issues ourselves. But if a company is wise and is doing solid knowledge management, the company should be getting involved in this as well, starting to build some of this undergirding for this trough of disillusionment. And any of you that are knowledge managers, I'm taking a guess. It's an educated guess. But I'm guessing that you're working on some major projects. And you haven't paid much attention to the, well, dare I say it, the no-budget KM. Now, some of you are forced to do some no-budget KM. That's good. That may be a good thing. You maybe have a healthier position than some organizations that are investing $1 million in portals. What's a no-budget KM? Let me give you a little sense for it. There's a quote here from Peter Drucker. I don't know if it's on this slide or the next one. This is not my, here's just a little outline. What's personal KM? The importance of personal KM. Focus on your strengths, which is a very powerful technique. KM is not what you expect. Personal KM technology map, and then we're going to take a quick look at a couple of personal KM tools. I'm not an advocate for just tools. I think processes, procedures are much, and then an orientation, cultural orientations are much more important than just tools, but there are also some tools in this KM suite or domain that are very helpful, some that you may not be too aware of. Here's a very good quote from Peter Drucker. Sadly, he died, but he lived to a ripe old age, I think 95, died just a couple months ago. This is what he said: in the 20th century, the most important and indeed truly unique contribution of management was the 50-fold increase in the productivity of manual worker in manufacturing. What he means by that is, for some people a picture is worth a lot more than some text, is in the last 200 years we've been making products. Here's a product. We've been putting all of our knowledge in the production process to make that product. We've gone from conveyor belts to robotics. We've gone from steam engines, or whatever might have been predecessor to that, to nuclear energy and all kinds of sophisticated energy sources. We've invested a whole bunch of money, time, and energy and innovative capacity into in the production process itself to make this product. That's the industrial age. And it's been very good to us. Everything you see in this room is a result of the innovation and the efficiency of the production age. We're getting to the point, though, and don't quote me as saying we can't wring a little bit more out of the production process, but I'm just doing a relative thing here and saying we're getting to the point where it's getting harder and harder to wring a little more efficiency out of the production process. That's the industrial age trying to do that. What's one of the things we can do to get a little more efficiency out of the production process? Send it to India or China with cheap labor costs, right? But what happens when labor costs in India and China begin to creep up towards what the norm for the world would be? Well, we'll try to find some other place in the world, but eventually we're going to run out of cheap labor. That's about the last thing we have left. We've done an awful lot in terms of robotics and everything else to get as efficient as possible. The last thing are those jobs that still have some labor content, take them offshore from someplace with cheap labor. We're wringing out the last few drops in the industrial process. What's the knowledge age all about? Let's stick with this metaphor. And I love a story that comes from this. I was teaching a class in Switzerland, and I was exactly at this point in this description. And I said the knowledge age has a couple of different things than the industrial age. We're turning our attention, we're not giving up on the production process. Don't get me wrong on that. Or you'll be quoting me as like that fellow in the patent office that ran the patent office in 1804, 1805, and said, we can close the patent office down there. Anything that is going to be invented has already been invented. Everybody hear that story? That's a true story. No, it's really true. It's so absurd, you have to laugh at it. But so I'm not like that at all. There's still plenty of opportunity. Nuclear fusion will be a major breakthrough when we get that. So there's still plenty of opportunity. We're not going to give up on that, but we're beginning to focus on putting knowledge into the products themselves, the products and services.